Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are joining us from around the world. My name is Michael Watson and I am the APAC lead for Microsoft Reactor. Today it is my great pleasure to welcome you to another one of our live stream events. This will be shown live where we will have a wonderful presentation on DDoS, how to apply DDoS protection to support your Azure subscription. Today's stream we will be featuring Ashish. Ashish Sharma is a Microsoft Azure MVP. He works as a cloud solution architect at Sitecore. His role demands solving complex technical problems in a timely fashion for Sitecore customers and a thorough understanding of the environment and technologies that they are utilizing. Today's session will be interactive, so if you do have any questions, please be sure to put them in the chat. It will also be recorded and will feature on our YouTube channel post the event. Without further ado, I will welcome Ashish to our stream and please enjoy his session and be sure to post any questions you have in the comments. Ashish, welcome to the stream. We are ready to go with your presentation and off you go.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for the introduction. Let me share my screen. I think you can see my screen.
We can, we just still have it in the background view. So we'll just go to.
Are you able to see my slideshow?
I can see that we can see the PowerPoint, the whole back end system, which has your notes as well, Ashish. So we just need to try and somehow get it to the slideshow to start for you.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay. We're just going to get this slides back up.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who are on the stream, as Ashish is doing this, who are not aware of what the Microsoft MVP program is that Ashish is a part of, it's a network of professionals around the world that are representatives of Microsoft at conferences, events, technologists, specialists across various technologies. And they are a wonderful group of people that support the Microsoft Reactor program, Ashish obviously being one of those. And we look forward to his presentation. And it looks like we have just got it now. And Ashish, we are up and running with your presentation.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for the introduction again. And hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the basics of DDoS attacks and the features of Azure DDoS Protection in basic and standard protection tiers. Okay, so my name is Ashish Sharma and I am Microsoft Azure MVP. I'm also working as a cloud solution architect at Sitecore. I'm a certified Azure and Kubernetes administrator and I have around more than 300 plus customer engagement. You can reach out to me in my personal blogs, that is iamashishsharma.com. So the agenda of today's session is we will discuss about a basic DDoS attacks, and then we will discuss about Azure DDoS Protection Service and types of Azure DDoS, and then we will have a quick demo about how to implement Azure DDoS in your Azure subscription. Okay, let's move to our first agenda, that is DDoS attacks. DDoS is basically a distributed denial of service attack. It is a malicious attempt to disrupt the normal traffic of targeted server network by overwhelming the target or its surrounding infrastructure with a flood of internet traffic. DDoS attack can crash or slow down service or application by sending a large amount of access requests in short period of time. By overwhelming the service capabilities, the attackers triggers a denial of service to legitimate users. And the DDoS attack can be targeted at any endpoint that's publicly reachable through the internet. And some common types of DDoS attacks are volumetric attacks, protocol attacks, application layer attacks. So with the help of Azure service, that is DDoS protection, we can overcome these DDoS attacks. So let's discuss about first volumetric attacks. The volumetric attacks, in this attack, the attacker goal is to flood the network by a substantial amount of legitimate traffic. It can include UDP floods, amplification floods, and other spoof packet floods. And with the help of DDoS protection standard, it mitigates these potential multi-gigabytes attack by absorbing and scrubbing the leveraging Azure's global network scale automatically. Second attack is protocol attack. In this attack, the attacker renders a target inaccessible by exploiting a weakness in the layer 3 and layer 4 protocol stack. It can include sync attack, reflection attacks, and other protocols attacks. DDoS protection service mitigate these attacks and by differentiating malicious and legitimate traffic by interacting with the client and blocking malicious traffic. The next attack is application layer attack. These attacks target web application packets to disrupt the transmission of data between hosts. It includes HTTP protocol violation, SQL injections, cross-site scripting, and other layer 7 attacks. And with the help of application gateway, web application firewall, and DDoS attack, we can have a defense against these types of attacks. So in this way, we should have a web application firewall. At the same time, we should have DDoS service implement in the Azure subscription to avoid these kind of attacks. Okay, so in order to avoid DDoS attack, Azure is having a service that is Azure DDoS Protection. And Azure DDoS Protection is out of two types. One is basic and standard. As you can see in the screen, like the features in basic is quite less as compared to standard. Basic will support only active traffic monitoring and always on detection and automatic attack mitigation, while all the topics are supported by DDoS protection standard. So in basic, this comes as a part of Azure subscription without any additional cost. This is same level of real-time monitoring and mitigation applies to Microsoft services. This is applying to Azure Global Network across all region, and this applies to Azure IPv4 and IPv6 public IP addresses. While Azure standard protection, this comes with additional traffic monitoring and machine learning algorithms specifically to protect Azure Virtual Network resources such as Application Gateway and Azure Load Balancer. It also provides real-time monitoring data, which is available via Azure Monitor. Users can also enable alerts for the events. Standard protection is also coming with some additional fees, and it is also applies to Azure IPv4 public IP addresses. So as you can see in the screen, like Azure DDoS protection offers more feature than DDoS basic protection plan. If you determine that certain applications are critical, for example, a high volume revenue generating e-commerce website, then I would recommend to use DDoS protection standard plan. Again, this slide, we will discuss more about the features of Azure DDoS standard protection plan. So DDoS standard plan provides enhanced DDoS mitigation features to defend against DDoS attacks. It is automatically tuned to protect your Azure resources in a virtual network. Standard plan will provide you intelligent traffic profiling. It provides native integration to Azure portal to set up and deployment. When DDoS standard is enabled for a virtual network, all resources on that network are automatically protected. Your network resources are under constant traffic monitoring for indication of DDoS attack. It helps to secure your layer 3 and layer 4 at network layer and provide application layer protection with the help of Azure WAF, which is included with Azure Application Gateway. In this way, it will protect your multi-layer. You can get detailed analytic reports during the attack in 5-minute intervals and after action report for complete summary of the event. It includes support for the interaction of mitigation logs and real-time monitoring during an attack. Azure Monitor collects monitoring telemetry from DDoS Protection Standard for access to summarize attack metrics. Customers that are onboarded to DDoS Protection Standard plan receive service credit for application scale-out and network bandwidth cost that incurred during a documented DDoS attack. So Microsoft will provide extra credit whenever this attack will happen. Microsoft has created DDoS Protection Rapid Response Team, and whenever you will deploy DDoS Protection Standard plan, you can contact this team for help during DDoS attack and request a post-attack analysis.
Ashish, there is a question. There is a question from Naveed. Is DDoS possible in online gaming?
Online gaming. So let's take this. If this online gaming is related to an application, then yes, it can happen in online gaming application as well. So I'm assuming that this online gaming would be streaming in some kind of application. So all the application that is is hosted in some kind of web server, any kind of in web app or any kind of like a virtual machine, then it may be impacted with DDoS attack as well. Until unless they have a scaling mechanism or they have some kind of standard protection applied on that particular application, we can avoid DDoS attack, but DDoS attack can happen in any kind of application, whether it is online gaming or online web server, online e-commerce, anywhere. So it's better to have some standard protected plan to avoid DDoS. For Azure, if you have an application in Azure, you can implement Azure DDoS standard plan. Do we have any other question?
Not at present, but yep, keep going. And I'm sure, there is one. Is standard protection plan cost effective?
Yeah, so to understand more about the cost, you can see in Azure cost calculator. But yes, I think this is a cost-effective plan because DDoS is also coming up with a service that is for cost guarantee. So whenever customer is onboarded to DDoS standard protection plan, he will receive a service credit whenever application is scale out, or there will be network bandwidth cost. So Microsoft will provide extra credit whenever there will be a DDoS attack and your application will scale out for the same.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, I'm moving to next slide. So now we will have a demo and we will discuss like how can you implement Azure DDoS plan in your Azure subscription. So for this, we will create a virtual machine and we will treat that virtual machine as an application and then try to implement Azure DDoS in that one. And later we will create few alerts and see how can we test our DDoS plan.
Okay, we're still just seeing the slide with the demo on it. Are we supposed to be seeing anything else?
I'm sharing my screen again. So I'm logging to Azure portal now. Just let me know once you can see my screen.
Okay, we have it up and running. Thank you.
Okay, so I have logged into the Azure portal Can you see my Azure portal?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So in this, we will create first a virtual machine. Let's do it. And let's create a new resource group. I'm selecting a region of Central India. It's not required since it is just for a session. I'm selecting a Windows image and a standard B1 plan. So while creating this virtual machine, we will have a virtual network, subnet, and public IP. Since the validation is completed, so I will create this virtual machine. It will take some time to deploy a virtual machine. I think it's done. So we have a virtual machine, and we will assume that this virtual machine uh, is an application, and we need to protect this virtual machine for our Azure subscription from DDoS attack. So in order to protect this from the DDoS attack, we can create a DDoS. So let's check the component that is available in this. So we have virtual machine, public IP, NSG is there, and network interference and disk associated with this virtual machine. So we will create a DDoS protection plan. Okay, and let's review and create this one. Okay, since the validation is passed, I will click on create button, and deployment has been started. It may take some time, and it's done. So whenever you will create a Azure DDoS protection plan, you can see this screen here. You can see an overview. This is the option to move this resource to another resource group and subscription. You will have a lock button here to lock this Azure DDoS protection so that no one can delete this one to prevent accidental delete. And activity logs are there where you can see the activities performed by the user on this service. IAM roles are there, and then we will see the can see the protected resources here. Okay, just click on protected resources so that we can see how many resources are protected from DDoS. So in order to have a DDoS standard protection plan, you should have a virtual network. In this way, you can prevent DDoS protection in your public IP address, which is hosted inside a virtual network. Now let's click on add button. And since we have already created a virtual network associated with our virtual machine, we will select this virtual network and click on add button. And we have a public IP address. So after adding this in our DDoS protection plan, we can see our public IP address is also protected with the help of this DDoS protection plan. Let's refresh. Maybe it will take some time. I think it's done. Okay, now we can see our virtual network associated with this DDoS protection plan. So with the help of this DDoS protection plan, we can see like how we are going to implement this DDoS protection plan. We have to create from the Azure Marketplace. Once it is done, we can add our resources in protected resources list, select your virtual network, and you can prevent this. So whenever you enable DDoS protection standard plan, the first step is to create DDoS protection plan, associate your virtual network to that plan. Only services with public IP address on that virtual network are protected. Let's assume the public IP of an application that's in a virtual network are deployed for layer 7 protection. You can enable WAF for that one. And for the DDoS, you can enable this standard protection plan. Any system that are using non-routable public IP addresses are on the virtual network are not included in this protection plan. So this is a customer benefit because the system are not internet facing, so there is no charge for their protection. To simplify deployment, you can configure DDoS protection plan for your organization and link virtual network for multiple subscription on the same plan. Once you will configure your DDoS protection plan, you need to assign your scope to the plan. And once it is done, you can select by selecting your resource group subscription and then the virtual network. So DDoS policy is generated from the DDoS protection plan, which is auto-configured and optimized by applying machine learning algorithms and using specific network traffic monitoring. So let's go to the resource group again. I hope there's no question related to DDoS protection plan. If you have any question, you can mention in the chat or you can ask after this session as well.
No questions at the moment, so we'll keep going.
Good. So let's select how to create, how to say like how to see the metrics of DDoS protection. So as I have already mentioned that they will protect your public IP address. So let's go to, let's see your public IP address. This is the public IP address. And let's go to the metrics here. And from here, you can see all the metrics related to DDoS. It consists of inbound bytes DDoS and other DDoS metrics as well. So we will select under DDoS attack or not. Once it is done, you can see like Whenever DDoS attack will happen, it will give you one chart here, which is showing that, okay, it will be in DDoS protection attack. So to test this DDoS protection, we have a tool called, it's a website called Breaking Point. So let me log into that Breaking Point website. You can simply Google it. Break, Breaking Point Cloud. I'm already having an account, so let me log in. So to test this DDoS attack, you can configure your public IP address here. You can select your port and configure everything out here. So I'm selecting this public IP address. And after this, you can select all the DDoS profile. It can be DNS, it can be any other thing. And you can select your test size as per your requirement. And once it is done, you can select your test duration. And after this, once it is done, you can start your test. It will take some time to go through all the tests, and then you can see and validate your DDoS protection plan. So it may take some time to perform all the activity to check. You can, okay, I think my quota is, remaining quota is very less. So let me change to some other test. So this is a brief overview, and you can have a look to how you can going to test breaking with the help of breaking point. And once it is done, you can just simply select the start button, and it will give it will push some traffic to your IP address, and you can enter any IP address which is you are planning to have a test for it. Okay, so we just have a brief summary for this. We have created a virtual machine, and we are treating it as a web server. So we receive one virtual network and IP address, and from with the help of DDoS protection plan, we associated our virtual network with DDoS protection plan. Then we see how we can analyze our metrics, and by selecting the under DDoS attack. And now we will enable some logs. You can just configure your diagnostic settings, go to diagnostic settings and enable your logs here. So with the help of logs, you can see three more settings will be enabled. That is DDoS protection notification, DDoS mitigation flow logs, and DDoS mitigation reports. So to enable diagnostics setting, you can just click here, enter your detail, put it all the details like this, audit and all logs, or you can mention like this, and then you can select any resource destination. For this one, you can enable your log analytics workspace, you can enable your storage account, event hub, or any partner solution. In this way, you can enable your um, diagnostics logs for IP address, which will come up with DDoS protection settings as well.
Ashish, we have two questions
Yes.
that have popped through. Okay, so we have one which is, can I protect my on-premise resource using DDoS protection?
Okay. So, as per my knowledge, like if you have no, I'm not sure about the on-premise resources. It's something like you need to configure in Azure Subscription for all the Azure DDoS to avoid your DDoS protection plan, to avoid your DDoS attacks. But I will get back to you if there is any kind of documentation or something is going on with Microsoft that they are planning to use your DDoS standard protection plan to avoid attacks in your on-prem system. But as of
Okay.
now, I think no. Let me show you again, like if you can go to manage protect resources, and here you won't get any option to select your on-prem resources. But let me check with Microsoft team as well on this one. Yeah.
Okay, and then the second question is there any way to define the standard rate limit?
Standard rate limit. Since as per my experience, like DDoS attack is not coming like some kind of standard limit, and so as of now, if there's any DDoS attack, so it will come up with so many traffic and so many things will go on. It's better you will come up with this DDoS protection plan, implement this, add your protected resources here, and then you can see with the help of your metrics or alert mechanism, once it is done, you can see, okay, DDoS attack is happening up. You can coordinate with the Microsoft team. And in this way, you can avoid DDoS attacks, sorry. Standard limit, I need some more clarification on this. What type of standard limit he is talking about? Is it related to DDoS attack or some kind of mechanism in DDoS protection plan?
Maybe Ashish can elaborate further as you keep going, and I'll bring that question up when he raises it.
Yeah, so now we will try to configure an alert. So alert mechanism is required whenever you have coming up with this DDoS protection plan so that you will get an idea once the DDoS is happening, so you can get a notification on it. So you can click on, um, let me go back to your public IP address. And then once you will here, you can click on alerts. Since this public IP address is associated with DDoS protection plan, so you will click on create alert rule. You will select so many things from here, like so many metrics and signals are available for this alert. But I would select DDoS protect under DDoS attack or not. So in this way, you can see like if it is under DDoS or not. The alert logic would be same. Let's make it to greater than and equal to. It should be maximum. Threshold value would be 1. Once it is done, this is the cost associated with this alert. Click on action button. You can create your own action group. You can select the notification types from here. I'm selecting email and entering my email. So whatever DDoS attack will happen, so it will send me an email to notify me about this attack.
There was a question from Sangmesh, which was, can I allow block list specific IP addresses?
So the block list of specific IP address, yes, you can do it with the help of a web application firewall. So in web application firewall, you can block all your IP address over there. So in this DDoS, it won't happen to allow you to block any IP address, but it can be done with the help of web application firewall. Okay, here you can mention the alert name and description about this. Okay, so we have created an alert. So it will trigger whenever there will be a DDoS attack. So I have already shown you like with the help of breaking point cloud, you can just try to stimulate the DDoS protection attack and you can see how it will go. So is there any other queries related to DDoS protection attacks?
Not at the moment.
Okay, so let's discuss few about the pricing work. So DDoS protection plans have a fixed monthly charge of $2944 per month, which covers up to 100 public IP address. Protection for additional resources will cost additional $30 per resource per month. So under a tenant, a single DDoS protection can be used across multiple subscriptions. So there is no need to create more than one DDoS protection attack. And there was question related to, I think, blocking of public IP. So since this public IP block, you can do it with the web application firewall so that you can enable web application firewall and DDoS protection so that you can avoid attack from layer 7 and layer 3 and layer 4. So a customer can use DDoS protection service in combination with web application firewall to protect your network layer and your application layer. So WAF also offers with the help of Azure Application Gateway as well as a third-party tool you can see in Azure Marketplace.
Ashish, there was a
Yes.
question. Does the service store customer data?
I think no. I think as per I have seen documentation related to um, Microsoft, like this is not storing any data from the customer.
Okay. And then there was one more question, which is for high traffic sites, if standard
Mhm.
rate is not defined like 10,000 rec per 10-second peak hours, how will system identify its peak traffic scenario and not DDoS attack?
Okay, so I think this DDoS protection plan is coming up with uh, a great feature, which is machine learning algorithms and few other features as well. So with the help of this kind of mechanism that is integrated in Azure DDoS Protection Standard plan, we can say like it can predict and see if the traffic is a legitimate traffic or it's something related to malicious traffic. So in this way, like you can see uh, sometimes if the sometimes it happens like there's too much traffic because of some discounts or some sales in e-commerce sites, but it has a mechanism to avoid this kind of scenarios. And at the same time, if you are an infrastructure guy, try to check whether it is a DDoS attack or not. So with the help of this DDoS protection, you can just reach out to DDoS Rapid Response team and you can check with that Microsoft team to see whether it is a DDoS attack or not.
Fantastic. Is that all from you, Ashish?
I think yes. I'm just checking if there's any other queries or question.
There doesn't appear to be any other questions at the moment. But I'm happy to give it a minute or two more. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did miss any of this session, or you do want to catch up on any of our existing videos or this video, then obviously our YouTube channel is a great resource for that. So I've now posted a link into the chat. So you, by all means, jump into that and catch up on this one or any others in the future. It does not look like, oh, hang on, we do have a question or a statement maybe. It's about identifying false positive scenarios. That's device issues was the question
yes.
around. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with this. Like, there would be false positive scenarios, but it's better to secure your environment as well. Like, let's say you receive an alert, you can just check and confirm with Azure DDoS rapid response team. Like, okay, is this any alert or not? So it's better. Like, you can avoid this false positive. You may have received false positive attacks, but it's better to get a clarification from Microsoft team. Once it is done, you can avoid that kind of attacks, that kind of alerts. This is my recommendation to avoid this kind of scenarios.
Fantastic. All right. With nothing further from you, Ashish, I will close out the session. I'll thank you so much for your time, your knowledge. I thank the audience for their wonderful interaction in this session. Really some great questions and great comments. So we look forward to you joining us for another session in the near future. And as Ashish mentioned at the start, his blog, please look him up on LinkedIn, become part of his community. He's an active member amongst a lot of the Indian and Malaysian and other markets communities. So please be in touch with Ashish and learn from him even further. And without further, I will close the session and wish you all a wonderful day, evening, or good morning. Goodbye, everyone.